will like keep moving again. So I would like to start now the second part by asking again if you have like general comments or questions. Please put them to the table, and the intention is to make as interactive as we can. So from what I discussed so far, are there places that you have more interest or that called your attention? And in this introduction, I wanted the introduction to be as general as it could, so it would cover interests from everyone here in this workshop. But please tell me if you have comments or questions about specific parts of it.
Excuse me, I could comment here that it's a very interesting and also very wide topic, and I think it takes time to realize all the possibilities for different sectors, how to use it, and actually I hope if it's possible to watch this recorded workshop also afterwards, because I have to exit 11 o'clock, and I can't watch the end of the presentation of the workshop at the moment, but if it's possible to watch afterwards also.
Yes, absolutely. I'm uploading the recording to YouTube, so it comes to the Sata-hanke webpage, and you can later click it down there.
Yes.
I will send the link.
Excellent.
To the address.
And also, Ivari, I will tell now because you will be away. I was to tell this later, but so there's the personal marketing part. I was to ask you all to add me in LinkedIn and do the protocols for networking. So please reach me if you want to keep the discussions, and this is very open, and I would be glad to keep up the discussions with everyone. So that's one of the goals of the workshops. This AI network is really real for us, and it's part of our goals. So please add me to LinkedIn and revisit the presentation how many times you need, etc., etc. Okay, so I will now start again the second part by showing you guys some examples. So first, I wanted to try again from the silly to the really useful example. So I would like to show you this thing of how AI can be done simply nowadays, and how the complex part still there and very complex, but how people are taking away the complex part for us. So this example here, I'm not trying to tell that the AI is easy. It's not at all. And in the second part, we will discuss the hard stuff, not the technically hard, but the part that matters to a company of having an AI product. But I wanted to show this example here from Google that, well, let's try the Pose project. So this is one tool from Google that you can use to make AI. This is for teaching purposes, but to make some AI examples. So let's train a model to detect position. So I will enable here my webcam. And here, let's do a model that will identify if I am bored or if I am paying attention. It's silly, I told. It's just for us to have an example. So bored, let's do kind of, yeah, I'm bored. And let's record examples. And now for the other class, let's do the same. And let's record. I need to be facing the camera maybe. I am paying attention to my presentation. So what I did here was very quickly and very fastly to generate data for an AI model. So I am making a classification model that will take my video and will classify if I am bored or if I am paying attention to the presentation. So this example, in the real world, we could classify between different classes of objects, different gestures of people, between different items that we want to classify. And we can add many classes. So after having some training data, what we need to do, we need to train a model. So in this case, it will happen very fast because it's very little data. And then after the model is trained, and I enable my camera, the model is capable to detect if I am paying attention. Now I am paying attention, it's 100%. But if I start to get bored, then I need to be in the same position. Then the model starts to be, oh, this guy is bored. So if I'm paying attention and if I'm bored. And if I am somehow bored, it will go in the middle. But that's the idea, basically, for a model that classifies things. We have training data, then we train the model, and then we use this model to classify new data. And that's the entire idea for many of AI applications. But just having data and having the model, it's not enough. We also need to create the environment to use this model. So for instance, Google has provided us here with a very simple, intuitive user interface for us to generate this example quickly. And the example works quite well. But all the background that it's needed is still here. So we have all the parameters of the model, and we can have quite advanced evaluation of the model to see if it's behaving well or not, exactly like the real AI would work. So if we were building this from scratch, we would need to collect the data, make a model, test if the model works. If the model works, we would need to start generating structure around this model, not structure, but an interface to use this model to make it usable for us. So it's not about AI only, it's about creating the entire environment to use the AI. As you can imagine, this can be quite complicated, and this silly example I created works fine, but you can imagine that how hard it is with real cases. But it's always more or less like this. We have a model under the hood working to solve some problem for us, and we also need to create structure around this model that will make it user-friendly to be used. The big companies that are providing technology like Google, Amazon, and many others, they are working a lot to make us this type of very accessible models. Not only toy teaching examples like this that I showed you, but real examples that can grow quite complex. So now I will show you some more complex examples. All these links I will share later, and you can play around. You can see how easy and fun it is to use. And this is a great tool for teaching purposes. But then now to the examples on video, to the slightly more complex cases. So here I have used a computer vision model that classify objects in pictures and video. So here I took picture from the Mikkeli city center, clearly before Corona, but it's what I found on the internet. And I run a TensorFlow model to detect objects in this picture. And it did a quite good job. It detected 27 people and 2 bicycles in the picture. And by what I counted, it detected everyone that is here in the foreground. So it works quite well, and it's a very good tool to count number of people and to count items. I will arrive very soon in the data privacy part to talk about the ethics of counting people. We cannot really do that, but here I'm just more showing you the technology, what the technology can do. Then I tried also on some personal photos just to see how I could keep detecting things. So those are personal pictures of my time working in Amazon. And it was doing also a quite good job, like detecting me and my friend, the book, the backpack, the watch from my friend, and it misdetected the camera for a bottle. But besides that, it detected everything correctly. Then here also personal photo, one weekend in the Amazon River, and it was capable to count pretty well the people in the water, some boats in the area. Here it confounded the big boat with many people inside for a bus. But to be honest, in Amazon, this is our bus. Like when you want to cross the river, you take the ferry. So it's a water bus. But it works quite well. Now a bit more to the real application of this. Well, one real case, traffic. You want to count people, you want to count cars, you want to identify bicycles, motorcycles, etc. Common objects are nowadays very easy to detect with AI. And it works quite well with different pictures. I took pictures of different quality, different size, different positions, and still common objects, it works really well. But not only common and new pictures, it also works for old pictures. So I took kind of Finnish archive pictures just to test computer vision for these tools that you want to make sense of the museum data or old archives. And it did a very good job of identifying people, a boat, or even a tie of the guy here in this very old picture and low quality, let's call it this way. Also, it identified people here. There were some mistakes, I guess. Don't get offended, but there's some animals here, maybe pigs, and identified as people. But it's doing a great job given the quality of the picture. Here also, it identified an old truck, more people in the picture. So these tools, they are already very useful for classifying entire collections where they have thousands of pictures and they don't have time to go manually through it. It can be very useful also to calculate production in crops. So here counting the number of apples in an apple tree. So you can use AI to count not only crops, but to count common items in production line and estimate numbers, etc., etc. Many uses of computer vision can be made very useful. Like in this picture, I was trying to push the limits a bit, taking a complicated picture, but still, it detected bowls, cups, glasses, the dining table, chairs, bottles, chairs on the other room, food, plants. So it does a very good job. And this model here wasn't trained by me, it was trained by Google. And I was just using the model in my computer. So nowadays, you don't need to develop models for common things yourself. You can benefit from other companies that are using it. And before we jump back to the presentation, I wanted to show you one example that we can do that in videos as well. So I took this video from Juva and just ran the model to classify the objects in it. And here you can see that we have people, we have the boat, we have bicycle, we have the dog identified, then we have the sheep. If you perceive in the sheep when it was far, it was identifying as horses. So, but when it got closer and a better glimpse of it, it identified as sheep correctly. Now that the dog lays, it confounds as a person and a bag. But when the dog is moving, it's very sure that it's a dog. It gets pretty much every person in the picture. So it does a very good job, I would say. It's identifying pretty much everything that it's on the video. And again, though I took this as a semi-joke video, we
Ulisses,
can have yes.
Ulisses, one question. So obviously, when you can identify object in the video or photo, then you can If you have, for example, a surveillance video camera recording video, then you can have an alarm or notification if some object appears in the video, right?
Yes, things like this. You can detect objects, you can detect moving objects, and you can detect even which type of objects. And then for surveillance, we reach also the domain of data privacy and what you can do with data from third party or not. And like if you have private company, it's a bit different business, but if you are using public environments, then there are many regulations that you can't really store this data, but you can still use the data to get the information and discard the data. And this happens on these edge devices that you have the AI running on the camera itself, or not on the camera, but on the tool that it's using the camera, and the data itself is lost, etc., etc. But you can detect motion, you can detect the type of objects, and you can count them. So there are many applications for that. And if, of course, there are objects that are easy to identify, people, cars, bicycles, etc. But there are many objects that are quite difficult to identify. And for these cases, then you eventually need to train your own model specifically for that type of object. But it's all doable and achievable with these computer vision techniques.
Yeah, thanks.
And this was one example, a bit more towards to your question. Like this, I was just taking a traffic video that we could count how many cars are passing through these crossroads, and then we could very quickly know about how much traffic there is. You can count how many people are walking across the street, etc., etc. So the options for the real world, they grow a lot. Like when we start discussing about the applications, we can get many use cases for this technology. But then I would like next to jump into the business part of this talk, that I would like to cover now what is needed to get us going, or instead of preparing to succeed, how we don't fail completely. So let's discuss a bit about topics that are important to keep in mind when considering having AI as a tool to help you in your field and your business. So again, about the facts that when we explore the data, here on the left, you see, here on the left, you see what people are trying to achieve when trying to employ AI on their system. So they are trying to make better decisions, create new products, pursue new markets, etc., etc. But also they point lots of challenges for AI, that it's hard, it's expensive, you need quite understanding of the field itself, you don't get enough people to work, expertise people to work on the thing, etc., etc. So towards this type of data, I have two advices for us to think about how to use AI. The very first is to define very well what process we are trying to improve, and evaluate if AI is really the tool for that. And we will discuss this next. But like when you talk only like, okay, create new products, make better decisions, this is kind of very open statement. It's like me telling, well, I would like to make more money. It's a bit obvious. I would like that, but I would like to know a bit more. What's my plan to make money? So let's try, when we try to open up now what are our goals with AI, let's try to have clear measures of what we are trying to achieve and how we will measure what we are trying to achieve, because this will help us to avoid lots of frustration in the future. Here are again those topics that I told you that it's what people usually identify as difficult. But now in the second part, I will try about my view on how we can not completely avoid, but make the effect of those problems smaller, at least when we are starting to explore opportunity. and starting to implement AI solutions. So again, the goal of this workshop is to AI as a tool to solve, let's put business problems now. And let's start with this. Let's not worry again with the tools itself. And the second part, I want to talk about the strategy for a successful AI journey, the structure that an AI company needs, the structure for AI projects, and present to you a template to facilitate the planning of AI solutions. So through 5 steps, we can do a process to define what we are trying to achieve with AI. And this structure helps a lot us to move the conversation forward. So starting by the strategy, I will give you one example that I like a lot and we all know. Well, Netflix. Netflix is one of the companies that use AI most nowadays for everything. They are a data-based company and with big data from people. And they like to tell they have 100 million different products, one product for each of their members, which is partially true. And they achieved that by being obsessed of using data to get insight about you and improving your experience with using Netflix. So they use lots of ideas combining psychology and AI to develop their product. So the main idea is that the cocktail party effect, that we are more friendly and we like to focus on topics that are relevant to us. So Netflix is based on a very powerful recommendation engine that will take tens of thousands of options and try to recommend stuff that you are more probable to stick to it. And the problem that they were trying to solve was how we make our clients stick to us, because it's very common in Netflix that people will sign it for the trial period or to a couple of months and then they will go away. So how they avoid customer churn and how they offer a great experience for their clients. So they have this recommendation engine, they have this because you watched, that the engine learns what you have been watching, the topics you like, the topics you dislike, and optimize the recommendations for you based on that. Then there's the thumbnail design, that in different countries the thumbnails are different. The different style of the series will generate different thumbnails. So they have AI that the horror series will have darker thumbnails, and the comedy will have colorful thumbnails. The drama will have very sober colors thumbnails, and this is all done automatically. Like they have hundreds of thousands of options. So all this is done by AI, by the machine. They also have nowadays the social proof in this top 10 and trending now in Finland categories, that they detect not only what you like, but what people similar to you like, people living in the same country as you, or people with profiles similar to you. And they use all piece of information they can get to provide you with an improved experience about their product. So this is a great AI strategy. And I would like to point what they are using here. This is that type of engaging AI system. And there are 3 features that I would like to highlight. The AI is hidden to the eye. So of course we know it's there, but we don't see it there. You don't need to train a model. You don't need to take any action other than choosing what you want to watch. And this is great because they are about generate the value that a great experience generates. They do small steps that add to that experience. So they apply AI to many smaller products, and these smaller products together provide a great experience. Google does the same. You have Google Translator, you have the Google Apps, Gmail, you have the Google Assistant, all different products from Google that use AI, but that together provides the users with an experience that the user will remember. Then you start to remember the company not by the great AI they do, but by the great brand they are. And this is the goal that we want to have when thinking AI products. The AI is the tool. So when you tell your friend about the great woodworking you've done, You don't tell your friend about the hammer you used. You talk about the woodwork you did. So that's the idea. But of course, those are the big guys. What we can learn from them, but keeping aware of our reality here in the region. So the three things that I can tell from the big guys that are smart to do is start as small as you can. So first, develop a simple proof of concept AI solution that will solve a single problem. Doesn't need to be more than that. Very important as well, share the risk. So once arriving at a viable product that can be made to production, then build an environment of features around it, because it's not about the AI, it's about the product you are willing to build. And then keep improving. Those companies, they keep doing that. They are always adding to the experience and to the solutions that they have. So this is a very good way of moving from one project to another and building things in small steps, small but steady steps. And then also when building an AI culture in your company or among your peers, you need to keep in mind those three things as well. You need to be honest about your readiness. So be aware of your data structure, digitalization degree, employees' readiness, etc. Also choose the right partners. So know your tech network, where to consult, what to outsource, what to bring into your company, people to interact, etc. And most important, or very important, educate your stakeholders. So the biggest asset you can have is not an AI expert, AI data scientist, but an AI product owner, because that person that will make sure that your product is delivered and that your product helps, that person doesn't need technical understanding of AI, but needs a broad, big picture understanding of what AI can do for you. And this product owner can be yourself directly, can be somebody working for you, can be somebody providing services for you. But that part is important, that not only the technical people implementing the tool know about AI, but the people that are dealing with the product development are savvy about AI. Then I would like to talk briefly about the physical structure, not physical, but the structure that you need around AI and a data product, because it can grow quite complex. So the actual machine learning code or model or part that you need to solve a problem, it's one of the smallest parts of making AI happen into a product, into production. Actually, together with this, you need tools to collect data, to verify the data, to extract features from this data, tools to analyze the data, tools related to the process management, then an environment to take care of the machines that you use, the serving infrastructure, like if it's online product or if it's working only on site. You need to monitor this product. Software gets stale, gets outdated, and AI is no different. So all these things, they demand quite a big structure behind you. Luckily for us nowadays, as I told, the big guys, the big companies, they are making big business out of creating the structure for us on the cloud and making it ready for us. So many of these boxes that you see now, they don't need to start from scratch. But there are cases where you eventually need to start things from scratch. So here I'm trying to show you the complexity that an AI project might have. But again, start simple. Let's discuss the ideas first. But then there are the actors involved in an AI project. So usually we have the business owner and the business user, some of it, and some data engineer that will be involved in the beginning of the process. So when scoping the project and when trying to understand the data that it's needed for the project. Then we have what we call the AI scientist, which will be the person taking care that the data will be modeled with some machine learning or any statistical model that will solve some problem and will be deployed as a tool that can do what's needed, like classify figures, classify video, understand language, etc. Then after the model is working with this core data, we need actually the engineers, like the architectural engineers, the software engineers, the UX engineers, to build the user interface for people to start using the AI solution. And only at that stage, we start to have the part that the AI solution will reach the final user, either your business user or your company user, etc. Then it starts the part of maintenance and improving the tool through this feedback. But this is a process that involves many people. It can involve many people in a big company case. It can involve one person. If you have like this AI scientist can do partially job from other parts as well, and etc. etc. I'm not telling that your project needs this amount of people, but I'm trying to tell more or less the roles that are involved in an AI project. And finally, when this is the life cycle of a project, like how you implement. So we have the design sprint, then we have the data processing part, the modeling of the data, as I told. Then you start to have a proof of concept to see if things are working as you desire. Then you might iterate to refine the model. Then finally, you start to onboard the actual users for the project and getting feedback from them, training them to use the tool, and you learn what are the requirements to make the tool usable by people. Then you iterate this until you have the minimum viable product that can be made to production. Then here you start to have a product that will stay teaching us how to evolve this product, how to improve it, but will also start being used for real. And that's the cycle that repeats. This is basically how one structure an AI project. Then again, I exploded the time a bit, but let's have again a short break. But before the break, a bit of discussion and questions. But after the break, we'll try to get a bit practical. So we go back to that questions that I posed in the beginning, like what are the 3 things that you would like to improve, and the things are why they are not working yet. So that's it. That closes the second part. I wanted to give you some perspective on how complex the business part can be, but now I want to bring to the simple again. Let's try now to break down into the problems that we have at hand here, and not the problems, but the interests that we have at hand here, and have a more focused discussion after the break. But again, if you want to ask something now before it gets cold on your minds, please do so. Yes, Ville?
Yes, actually, I have this kind of question about for the audience, actually, about the presentation. When I'm having a presentation and I get excited about the things, I have learned to ask sometimes, are we going too fast or too slow, or how is the outcome? Are you guys able to follow where we are going, and how you feel?
Ville, maybe I can start, Janne, here. I think it's the content is very good. Personally for me, it's lots of new stuff which needs to be digested and somehow then put into practice. I think I'm really looking forward to understand how these things can be applied, and what kind of use cases can be produced, because the spectrum is very wide where the AI can use. So at least personally, I need the touch point to the reality, and I think that's what we are going to discuss then further.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and also I totally agree. Very good content, and it's also easy to follow for me. But still, I would like to watch it again because it's recorded. And so thanks for the workshop for everyone. I have to leave now, and I hope to get back with business later on. So thank you and bye bye.
Yes.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Ivar,
you. Yes.
for participating. Marco said in the chat that it's perfect speed for him.
Okay, thanks for being so nice with me, guys, because I know that I get excited and I rush and I speak a lot. You are being sweet to me. But now on the next part, then we will go. Now we have the entire time for the exercise and discussion, and then we will talk about trying to get concrete, like Janne pointed and the others. I know this is also a need that, okay, let's jump to the real stuff now. So that's the goal of the following part. So
yeah, I would like to ask something about from the participants. Do you have private issues to discuss that they cannot be recorded? Or I was thinking originally that I wouldn't record the last part because there might be some, but because there are already 6 or 7 people from other companies who can hear the discussion and are participating in the discussion. So I would like to ask if anyone objects that I record the last part, even though I promised in the beginning that I won't record it. So let's have a chat about that. What do you think? For example, Mikko from eLive, do you think I can record from your part?
Good question, because I might be some questions and maybe I don't want to publish them, but
okay. Then it's okay. Then it's clear. We are not discussing about this anymore. So I won't record the last part of this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this will open up more people to really open what the discussion will be more free if it's not recorded.
Yeah. There is also a possibility to create rooms in this meeting. So if you want to ask more privately questions from Ulisses, I can put you in one room from the settings of the meeting where it's only you and Ulisses, for example. So if anyone wants that, then
what I would suggest also is that we stay as a group for the exercise and trying to discuss, and then because example from one person might be very useful for the other person, and then as I already told many times, I'm very open to discussions. Please, guys, approach me other than this workshop as well, and this workshop is just the starting point for networking. So keep in mind those 2 pathways that we will discuss here, but also you are very free to write me at any point and having meetings, etc., etc. So should we have a short break now and be back in 10 minutes? So 11:05.
Okay, let's be back then.
Yeah, okay. See you guys.
See you.